All right, we're gonna take you really quickly through here what we saw from some Ducks in Week 1 of the NFL. Because there were some Ducks who thrived. We'll talk about some guys who maybe are still figuring it out. Justin Herbert, though, on Friday night went down to Brazil, balled out, beat the Chiefs, reigning AFC champs 27-21. He looked fantastic in this game. We talked about it, but I look back at him. I think this is just one of the best arms in the league. He hits 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's really developed as a scrambler. I think it was a 19-yard run to win the game. And he slides down and is just fired up. He's the guy who makes the Chargers a real contender. And I'm so curious because this Greg Roman is a run guy, but listen, bro, they're trusting Justin Herbert with the ball in this game. I'm excited.
Yeah, I've not been excited that Greg Roman is the coordinator for Justin Herbert over the last 2 seasons. Last year did not necessarily thrill me with their passing game, but I was surprised when I went back and looked at that. Justin Herbert had 24 touchdowns and 3 interceptions last year. He was super efficient in an offense where he wasn't really asked to do that much, and we saw him earlier in his career throw for 5,000 yards and almost 40 touchdowns when he was asked to open up the offense a little bit more early on in his career. I was excited to see the fact that I've been Justin Herbert's a top 5 quarterbacks. I've been saying this for years, and despite people's doubts, the ridiculous conversation of him and Tua, I think he has been over the last couple of years firmly in that group, right behind those the Josh Allens and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes type guys. I think he's a lot closer to Joe Burrow than Tua Tagovailoa is to Justin Herbert, and I was very glad to see that put on display in front of everybody on Friday night. So. He just those, like you said, some of those throws, and it reminds me of what Dante Moore did, where it's those laser beam throws.
Yep.
That exactly. Justin Herbert would have been a guy that hit that throw that Dante Moore hit to Malik Benson. It's the same thing from him on Friday night in Brazil. Some of those throws, not every quarterback can do that. And he's a guy with that special type of arm talent.
That's why we're excited about Dante Moore. Just a little bit more around the league. Bo Nix and Troy Franklin teamed up a little bit. Bo didn't look great in this game. He was one of the best rookie quarterbacks in the league last year, but he goes 25-40, 176 yards, touchdown, a couple weird picks, and a fumble. 4.4 yards per attempt is not great. But I'm excited because Troy Franklin, we didn't really see a huge role for him in this Denver offense last year, but it seems like he has a role in that slot now. 4 receptions for 44 yards on 6 targets. He really seems like he's going to be a part of this team.
Yeah, really excited to see that for Troy Franklin, a guy who didn't really play the slot at all in college, but seems to have found a bit of a role doing that for the Broncos early this season. Was only trailing Cortland Sutton in terms of those, the targets and the snaps and stuff like that. So good to see that, and obviously we know the connections there with Bo. Hope Bo can get things figured out a little bit, because this was exactly what I feared for him going into year 2, that he is a bit of a quarterback that can be easier to solve at times and figure out when you do. It's a thing that a lot of quarterbacks struggle with in year 2, and a lot of players in general. It's just that the league has never seen you before in year 1. They get a chance to spend all offseason watching film on you and getting ready for that second season. So we'll see what how things go with Bo Nix. I still have a lot of I didn't have a lot of faith in him going into the draft. I was very pleasantly surprised by how last year turned out. So I will. It's definitely gonna be something I'm watching going forward. And then we look to the other pair of Oregon teammates that we've got in the league right now. Tez Johnson and Bucky Irving beat the Atlanta Falcons for their Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20. Bucky had a really nice touchdown reception where he kind of got the swing route, dove, hit the barely enough of the pylon to get in there, and then Tez got a little bit of playing time. So I'm excited to see too that he made the 53-man roster, and despite some of this talent that Tampa Bay does have in their receiving room with future Hall of Famer Mike Evans and a first-round pick and Mekhi Ibuka, that Tez is still able to find his way onto the field a little bit early here.
Yeah, and then I was excited about Evan Williams, who really has found a starting spot next to Xavier McKinney in that Green Bay offense, who beat the Lions. It's not an easy team to beat. He got the pick in that game right before halftime, sealed it for those guys. Wasn't necessarily that the guy we felt like was going to be a starter coming out of Oregon in that draft class that was so talented, but he really does seem like he's one of the guys who's really secured a starting spot most out of any of them.
Yeah, I remember he had a really strong pro day for Oregon, and I felt that really helped him move up draft boards. That was one of the first things I got to go to covering some of the Oregon football stuff. So it was exciting to see him there, and then really take on that starting role with the Packers last year, and has been a really consistent safety for them. It's been exciting to see for a guy who we didn't really know what we were going to get when he transferred in to Oregon from Fresno State a couple seasons ago.